What began as a routine astronomical observation has spiraled into an unprecedented mystery, leaving the international community in a state of both awe and profound apprehension. The focus of this global event is an object from interstellar space, designated 3I/Atlas. For weeks it was just another point of light on a predictable course, a wanderer from a distant star system passing through our own. Initial tracking by observatories around the world suggested a standard flyby. Computer models were in universal agreement. 3I/Atlas would approach our solar system, swing past the planet Mars, and then continue its journey, disappearing back into the infinite expanse of the cosmos. It was anticipated to be a fleeting, yet valuable opportunity for scientists to study a pristine sample of material from beyond our sun's influence. But that is not what happened. Instead, in the silent vacuum of space near the orbit of Mars, something occurred that has defied every known law of physics and has torn up every scientific textbook. The events that have unfolded over the past several days have forced a stark and unavoidable conclusion upon the world's leading scientists and governments. For the first time in recorded history, an object from interstellar space has demonstrated agency. It has behaved not like a lifeless rock or a frozen comet, but like something deliberate, something under control. To understand the sheer impossibility of what has transpired, we must first consider the object's initial approach. 3I/Atlas was detected traveling at a velocity that is difficult for the mind to truly grasp. It was moving at approximately 130,000 miles per hour. To put that into perspective, a speed that immense could circle our entire planet, Earth, more than 5 times in a single minute. Its trajectory was precise, its path calculated, and its destination was thought to be the darkness beyond our system. The forecast was clear and universally accepted. It would pass by Mars at a safe distance, offering our instruments a brief window for observation. Then, the impossible occurred. Without any warning, without any detectable gravitational influence from a nearby planet or any other foreseeable cause, 3I/Atlas began to slow down. This was not a minor adjustment or a subtle drift. It was a direct, powerful, and sustained act of deceleration. Over a period of just a few hours, the object shed nearly all of its colossal forward momentum. Eyewitness accounts from astronomers described it as if a giant, unseen force had simply reached out from the void and halted its progress. The object slowed from its incredible interstellar velocity, came to a near-complete stop relative to the planet Mars, and then, with a grace and precision that analysts can only describe as surgical, it eased itself into a perfectly stable orbit around the red planet. The amount of energy required to perform such a maneuver is staggering, bordering on the incomprehensible. To bring an object of its estimated mass to a dead stop from such a speed would require a power output greater than the total combined energy humanity has produced throughout its entire existence. It would demand more raw power than every single nuclear reactor on our planet operating at maximum capacity for decades. There is simply no known natural phenomenon that can account for this event. Asteroids do not apply brakes mid-flight. Comets do not execute perfect orbital insertions. Whatever 3I/Atlas is, it is not operating according to the rules of celestial mechanics as we understand them. It is behaving like a machine. It is acting like a vehicle. Immediately, space agencies across the globe scrambled to make sense of the incoming data. From NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory to the European Space Agency, every available radio telescope, every orbital probe, and every deep space sensor was redirected to point at Mars. The data was checked, it was cross-referenced, and it was confirmed by dozens of independent institutions. Hopes that this was a sensor malfunction or a simple miscalculation were quickly dashed. The reality was undeniable. This was no error. The object had executed a controlled, powered deceleration. It appeared to have utilized some form of sustained thrust over several hours to achieve its new stable orbit. During this braking maneuver, highly sensitive spectrographs detected intense focused emissions of a brilliant blue-white light. Critically, these emissions were not radiating from the object as a whole, as one would expect from a reflection of sunlight. Instead, the light originated from specific, distinct points along the object's surface. Observers reported that these were not diffuse glows, but concentrated, rhythmic bursts of pure energy. The pattern was described as being consistent with the synchronized firing of incredibly advanced engines. The implications of this single observation are world-altering. For any object to slow itself from interstellar speeds, It would need a propulsion system far beyond anything human science has ever conceived, even in theory. Preliminary calculations suggest that for such a system to be effective, its exhaust velocities would have to approach 10% of the speed of light. A drive system of that nature would operate on principles of physics that are completely unknown to us. A technology like that would render our own space travel capabilities obsolete. It could cross our entire solar system in a matter of days, a journey that takes our most advanced probes many years to complete. It would make routine interstellar travel a reality. But there was another piece of data, a detail that is perhaps even more disturbing to the physicists who are analyzing it. The efficiency of this braking maneuver was, by our standards, perfect. Normally, an engine powerful enough to generate that much thrust would also generate an immense amount of waste heat. It would be visible to our infrared telescopes as a brilliant, blinding flare across multiple wavelengths of light. Yet, when our infrared arrays were focused on 3I/Atlas, they registered almost nothing. The object remained cold. Its surface temperature was measured at only a few degrees warmer than the near absolute zero of the deep space surrounding it. This means its propulsion system was converting virtually 100% of its energy directly into motion, wasting almost none of it as heat. To the scientific community, this isn't just a sign of advanced technology. It is a demonstration of a total mastery over energy and matter, a level of physics that borders on perfection. It is an undeniable sign of an intelligence far beyond our own. Once it achieved its stable orbit, 3I/Atlas did not remain dormant. It immediately began to behave like a machine with a clear and methodical purpose. High-resolution instruments, including those aboard the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, began detecting powerful and structured bursts of electromagnetic energy radiating from the object. These were not random bursts of static. They were complex, patterned signals. Analysis of these signals soon revealed a chilling regularity. The object was conducting a systematic sweep of the Martian surface, moving in precise geometric patterns. Over a period of just 12 hours, 3I/Atlas had completed a comprehensive scan of the entire planet. The energy patterns suggest the use of an extremely high-powered ground-penetrating radar system, one capable of mapping geological formations several kilometers beneath Mars's desolate surface. Furthermore, these scans were not random. They were highly focused on specific regions of the planet, areas that have long been a source of intense scientific interest and speculation here on Earth. The scans concentrated on the Cydonia Plateau, the location of the controversial Face on Mars formation. They meticulously mapped Valles Marineris, the colossal canyon system that dwarfs our own Grand Canyon. The object also targeted areas where NASA's own orbital radar had previously indicated the presence of ancient water flows or significant deposits of buried water ice. It was as if 3I/Atlas knew exactly where to look. It was targeting the very locations that have puzzled and intrigued human scientists for decades, as if it were working from a map it already possessed. Following this comprehensive planetary scan, something even more extraordinary began to happen. The primary object, the main body of 3I/Atlas, began to deploy smaller secondary objects. These new objects were observed detaching from the main structure and beginning a controlled descent toward the Martian surface below. Over a 2-day period, a total of at least 23 separate modules were observed. Each of these 23 modules began a deliberate and perfectly controlled atmospheric entry. Their landing sites were not random. Some of the modules descended toward the polar ice caps. Others targeted the locations of those suspected subsurface water deposits. In what can only be described as an incredibly bold maneuver, 3 of the modules descended within the direct visual range of NASA's own Perseverance rover, which was active on the surface at the time. And then, just as quickly and as mysteriously as they had appeared, every single one of those 23 objects vanished. They disappeared from every form of detection we have. Their thermal signatures faded to nothing. Radar returns from their last known positions ceased. The landers or probes or whatever they were simply gone from our view. There are only a few possible explanations, and each one is more unsettling than the last. The first possibility is that they buried themselves deep beneath the Martian soil with incredible speed. The second is that they activated some form of active camouflage or stealth technology. The third is that they simply ceased emitting any detectable form of energy. A senior NASA engineer, in a leaked internal memo, described the situation bluntly. He wrote, quote, "It's as if Mars had just swallowed them. In response, mission controllers for the Curiosity rover redirected the vehicle to travel toward one of the confirmed landing sites. After a lengthy journey, it arrived at the precise coordinates. It found absolutely nothing. There was no impact crater. There was no field of debris. There was not even a measurable disturbance in the fine red dust that covers the entire planet. For the international scientific community, the situation had now officially crossed from a profound mystery into the territory of a global crisis. The planet Mars, our celestial neighbor, now hosts at least 23 objects of unknown, but clearly artificial origin, and humanity possesses absolutely no means to see them, to study them, or even to confirm their exact locations. Every instrument we have was rendered completely useless. The only constant was 3I/Atlas itself. It remained in its silent, steady orbit, an enigmatic sentinel watching over the planet. It continued to emit faint, structured electromagnetic patterns, which analysts now believe were signals of communication, a data exchange with its invisible counterparts on the surface below. Faced with this unprecedented and deeply unnerving reality, NASA, in consultation with its international partners, made a historic and controversial decision. The agency decided to attempt direct contact. Utilizing the immense radio telescope dishes of the Deep Space Network, scientists composed and transmitted a message directly to 3I/Atlas. The message was not sent in any human language. It was transmitted in what is believed to be the universal language of mathematics and physics. The transmission was composed of fundamental mathematical sequences, including prime numbers and basic geometric proofs. It was a signal designed to be a universal representation of intelligence, a greeting card to the cosmos. For more than 24 hours, there was only silence. The faint background emissions from 3I/Atlas continued as before, but there was no discernible reply. Then, without warning, the object responded. The change in its signal was immediate, profound, and absolutely unmistakable. The object's emissions shifted from what had been passive patterns into a highly structured, complex, and evolving signal. At first, it simply mirrored the transmission from Earth. It repeated the sequences of prime numbers. It replicated the basic geometric shapes. But then the signals began to grow exponentially more complex. It started to complete the mathematical equations that Earth had sent. It then introduced entirely new, far more advanced equations, as if it were not just acknowledging our message, but actively continuing the conversation. This was not a simple confirmation of receipt. This was a direct and intelligent answer. Mathematicians and cryptographers around the world began working frantically, in a state of both unparalleled excitement and deep-seated dread, to decode the complex patterns. They quickly discovered that the object's responses incorporated mathematical principles and theoretical frameworks that are far beyond current human comprehension. The signals hinted at an understanding of higher dimensional physics that our own science has only just begun to theorize about. Then, buried deep within the streams of mathematical data, came something even more astonishing. Researchers found that certain sequences, when translated through advanced imaging algorithms, produced clear, three-dimensional maps. The first of these maps appeared to depict a star system. It was not our own. It was a system located in a distant part of our galaxy. The map was incredibly detailed, showing the precise orbits of several planets, the coordinates of its parent star, and what looked unmistakably like massive artificial structures in orbit around one of the planets. If this interpretation is correct, 3I/Atlas was showing humanity exactly where it came from. It was providing us with its home address. But not all of the decoded imagery was a source of scientific wonder. One of the subsequent data sequences produced a map of Earth itself. It was an eerily precise and up-to-date representation of our home world, detailing continents, coastlines, and even the distinct light signatures of our major city networks at night. Certain frames within this sequence appeared to highlight specific points on the Earth's surface. When these points were cross-referenced with our own global maps, a chilling pattern emerged. The highlighted locations corresponded with known military installations, major global communication hubs, and key scientific research facilities. The implication was deeply disturbing. 3I/Atlas, or whoever created it, has been observing us, mapping us, and possibly studying us for a very long time. As the frantic analysis of these transmissions continued, the situation grew even more alarming. Orbital mechanics specialists, re-examining the object's trajectory data, made a groundbreaking discovery. The object's current orbit around Mars was not a permanent one. Its position and velocity were perfectly aligned for a gravity assist maneuver. It was using the planet's gravitational pull as a slingshot, a common technique to alter a spacecraft's course and gain speed with minimal energy expenditure. Based on the new calculations, this maneuver would send it on a direct course toward the inner solar system. The numbers were undeniable and have been confirmed by multiple agencies. Its target could be reached within approximately 6 weeks of its departure from Mars. The realization was sudden and stark. Mars had not been the final destination. It had only been a temporary stop. That single piece of information changed everything. What humanity had initially viewed as a profound scientific curiosity, perhaps the greatest discovery in all of history, had now transformed into a potential prelude to first contact, or perhaps a prelude to invasion. Defense agencies worldwide immediately began treating the object as a possible and credible threat. In an unprecedented display of global cooperation, born from a shared sense of profound vulnerability, the United States Space Command, the European Space Agency, Russia's Roscosmos, and China's CNSA all initiated joint monitoring protocols. Data that was once highly classified and jealously guarded is now being shared freely between nations. Military satellites are being repositioned. In secret meetings held around the world, contingency plans are being drafted for both diplomacy and planetary defense. What makes the situation so profoundly unnerving for military planners is the sheer, overwhelming imbalance of technological power. 3I/Atlas has already demonstrated capabilities that render all of human technology completely obsolete. It can halt its motion from interstellar speeds as if it were a trivial act. It can deploy precision modules across the surface of an entire planet with perfect accuracy. It can then make those modules completely invisible to every form of detection we possess. And it can communicate through the universal languages of mathematics and energy in ways that transcend our own scientific understanding. If a technology of that level were to be turned against Earth with hostile intent, there would be absolutely no effective defense. A senior Pentagon analyst, in a classified briefing, summarized the strategic situation with brutal honesty. "They have shown us," he said, "that they can do whatever they want, and that there is nothing we can do to stop them." As the days have passed, the activity in Martian orbit has begun to intensify. The electromagnetic emissions from 3I/Atlas have grown stronger and more frequent. Observatories on Earth have detected subtle changes in its orientation, as though it were aligning itself for its departure. Power output readings from the object have surged dramatically. On the surface, the 23 deployed objects, though still invisible, appear to be transmitting massive amounts of data back up to the main structure in synchronized bursts. Every single sign points to one inescapable conclusion. 3I/Atlas is preparing to leave Mars, and its next stop is us. Behind the scenes, the scientific community is engaged in an intense and often heated debate. What does it all mean? Is 3I/Atlas a peaceful explorer? Or is it a robotic scout, assessing a target for a later arrival? Was its primary mission on Mars scientific, archaeological, or military in nature? No one knows the answers to these questions. But one thing is absolutely certain. In the span of a few short weeks, our world has fundamentally changed. Humanity has been given a glimpse of the unimaginable. We have witnessed technology that defies our known physics. We have been contacted by an intelligence that speaks the language of the cosmos itself, and we have seen evidence of a power that could reshape our very understanding of existence. In the final days before its scheduled departure from Mars, every major observatory on Earth and every space telescope has turned its gaze toward the red planet. Reports from multiple agencies have now confirmed the complete stop of all surface scanning activity. The final data bursts from the deployed modules have been received. It appears 3I/Atlas has completed its work on Mars. It has begun to slowly and deliberately reorient itself, aligning its main axis for its new trajectory toward Earth. Heat signatures along its structure are intensifying, signaling the final activation of its incomprehensible propulsion system. Within a matter of days, it will break orbit. The world holds its breath, waiting. Humanity's greatest hopes and our deepest fears have collided in a single shared global realization. We are no longer alone, and we have absolutely no control over what happens next. Even now, as 3I/Atlas makes its final preparations, the debate rages: was Mars a testing ground? Was it a strategic move in a cosmic plan we cannot comprehend? Whether 3I/Atlas comes in peace or for some other purpose, the profound silence of space no longer feels empty. It feels like something is out there, listening, and now it is getting closer. We will continue to bring you updates on this story as it develops.